Hello, this is Joe Neville, and I've managed to get myself some new hardware. I've got my hands on a couple of Aruba 8400s. So this is the new campus core box from Aruba running the brand new operating system Aruba AOS-CX. So what I thought I would do in this video is give you a quick look around the web UI and the Swagger interface for the REST API. Okay, let's get into it. So this is the login screen. And there we are. This is the new web UI. As you can see, you have these this attractive display with multiple tiles here. You can see useful things at a glance like CPU, memory, you've got the system info, management modules and things like fans, thermals and power supplies. You also got staff information like firmware and your configuration. Over here, this is the network analytics pane. I'll be dealing with that in a later video. I'll give you a quick look though. So if we jump on there we are. This is NAE. We've got the default system_resource monitor script running on it, as you can see there, and this default agent. Can hit that and it will bring up the graph for this. This is the default NAE script that runs on this. As I mentioned, we'll be dealing with that in later videos. This is just a quick overview. So let's carry on down here. We've had a look at the overview, had a look at analytics. Next up is interfaces. So if I click on interfaces, there we are. So you can see a graphical representation of the box. These are the line cards, 10 gig line cards and 40 gig line cards that we've got installed. And you can see the information about various ports. We've been using this device for some development work, for some demos we've been doing recently. So it's not a production grade config on there. It's a bit messy, but you know, I think it gives you an overview of a kind of grasp of what this looks like. We've also got VLANs, so you can check the VLANs on the device. So we've got a few VLANs that we've got set up. Link aggregation groups. There we are. We've got 3 link aggregation groups on there. There's this pane here for users, fine, administrator, operators. Then you can get into some more system level stuff like environmentals. Okay, in environmentals you get these lovely little graphics with the turning. So you got the different fans installed, which is nice to have a look, you know, a quick overview, whether there's anything up with the hardware. You've got your temperatures over here and the power supplies installed, so you know, pretty useful for looking at a general environmental overview. The log, now this is where the log would be displayed. I haven't got the logging functions all lined up for this yet, so we'll skip over that one. You can do some basic configuration as well, like putting in your DNS server. There's some configuration management on the next one. There we are. So you can upload and download your configuration. You also can have checkpoints. This is like your rollback points in the configuration. More on that in later videos. And you can also do firmware updates here. So you can actually drag your firmware or browse to it here, set it as the primary or the secondary image. So as you can see, there's some useful things that you can do with the UI. There's also some tools in here which can be useful for network operators like a ping, a trace route, and then finally you've got a full show tech that you can bring up. So you can fire off a show tech here or export it, you know, if you were going to be speaking to a network operations troubleshooting team. about the device. Okay, so going back to the overview, as mentioned, that gives you a nice kind of general overview of the switch, but that's not the primary way that we expect people to be configuring this device. As mentioned, this operating system is very much focused on campus core, campus distribution. So this isn't your access layer type device or type of operating system. There's a lot in there. We've got a full layer 3 OSPF, full BGP stack on this, so you're not going to be configuring in-depth things like that via a web UI. But with like a lot of the Aruba access switches, you do have this nice UI for people to get the general gist of the health of the device, some of the more popular functions, and it's your route into NAE. Also, more interesting for me is this is how you can access the Swagger UI. Okay, so that is the graphical representation of the API in this box. So the Aruba AOS-CX, that's 100% REST API. An operating system specifically written for network automation. So how do we access that? Well, if you go over to this cog over here on the top right, you can do things like save the config and reboot on there, but also there you see API. So let's go on there. This takes a while to just pop up, and it'll take a few seconds. Okay, so this is the Swagger interface for the Aruba AOS-CX REST API, okay? And this is kind of like an interactive configuration guide for the API. This would be your first stop if you were investigating this device and wanted to interrogate it via the REST API, and why wouldn't you? This would be where you would go to work out the calls that you need and the information that you can get. So it's like your API config and command reference, but it's an active live document that you can use to log into the box and grab information from it. So I'll show you that now. What you're confronted with when we first look at this is these general headers. Okay, so these are kind of the functions on the device. So you've got ACLs, ACL entries. These are family of functions on the device. Calls to the API that are grouped together. So first of all, we need to authenticate. So if we go to login, here's login. And you see these are, so REST API works off of HTTP calls. So you have these are standard HTTP calls. So we have our post, and the URL that we're going to send it to is the login. So if I expand this, now you can see you get lots of information about what you should send and what will happen when you're logging in. So this is user logged in, and it will grab a cookie. So a cookie is like your authentication to the device, and we're looking for a response class there. We've got status 200. Okay, so as I said, it's interactive, so we can actually put in the username and password. Okay, and there you can see it's logged in, and my username and password was correct, so I've got my response code 200. Now I'm logged into the device. Swagger handles the cookie for you, so it handles the authentication for you once you've logged in. So now we're logged in, and we can use this session to perform other actions on the device via the REST API. Okay, so let's do a really standard thing that you see in demos for this. This is a real kind of bread and butter style action. Let's have a look at the VLAN table on this device. So if we scroll down, you can see lots and lots of static routes, spanning tree, you've got the system in there, TACAC server, lots and lots of functions exposed via the REST API. Here is what we're looking for, the VLAN. Okay, so, and then you see the different actions that you can perform. So get is when you get information from the device. Post is when you create new information on the device. So you'll post to that, to this URL here. Delete obviously is delete, get, and the ID is to get information about a specific VLAN, and then put is when you change the information on the device. So post is for new information, and put is when you changed. So if you were going to create a new VLAN, you would do a post, but if you wanted to change the configuration of an existing VLAN, you would do a put. Okay, now let's look at doing a get. Okay, so lots and lots of information here. Swagger does take some getting used to start with, so that you can start working your way around it. It's not too hard, it just needs a bit of experience, especially if you're a network and you haven't used this before. I'll be doing more videos on this in the future. This, like I say, this is just a first look at this. So I did a submit to get the VLANs, and there we are. There's the response body. So you got your response code 200, so that's good. And there's our response code. So those are the VLANs on the device. And as you can see, it gives you, this is helpful if you want to take this information. Like I said, it's kind of interactive configuration guide. It gives you the curl command that you would need to use to get this information. Okay, and also the request URL that you've used to do that. So if you were going to do writing some Python, for example, you would take that and put that into your scripts to get this information. Those are the VLANs that are on the device at the moment. Let's go ahead and actually configure the device via the Swagger, which you can do. We've logged in, so that security aspect is covered. We can now actually configure the device if we so wish. So that would be to create a new VLAN. We could do a post, and it gives you the information that you need to create a new VLAN. So what I'll do is I will actually log into the device. So this is the device as well. This is another aspect of it, another way to interact. Of course, it's the CLI. Now, don't believe any of that hype about CLI being dead. CLI is very much the way that humans interact with the device, and the great thing is that the Aruba AOS-CX, it has a full CLI that I'm pretty sure most, all network engineers worth their salt will be able to pick up and use with ease. It works on the standard interface and subcommand style setup. So I'll just do a show run. There you can see, pretty standard. You have the interface and then you've got the subcommands. Okay, nothing too unfamiliar there. There are the VLANs that have been configured, and you interrogate the box with standard show commands. Okay, so show VLAN gives us our VLAN table. As you can see, we don't have VLAN, let's say 99. That's the one I'm going to configure. I'm going to do it via the Swagger UI. Okay, so no VLAN 99 there, not configured. Right, what we need to do then is we need to, and this is where you have to pay attention, you need a bit of experience with this. It gives you the example values that you can use. But what you have is that there's a minimum requirement of the data that you need to provide to create the VLAN. So I'm going to put that in, and I need to do it in a JSON structure. You can get the example from over here and copy that across. I know exactly the information that I need, so I'm going to write that in now. So it's curly bracket, and we need, it's double quotes, then it's name, colon, and the name, so I'll call it Swagger VLAN, is that, comma, and the VLAN ID is ID. Okay, so it's ID in double quotations, then colon, and this is an integer, so it's just a number. I was going to configure 99. Now watch what happens. So first of all, I'll try and do this, and I won't finish this off properly. I'll send invalid information because I'm not going to do the enclosing final bracket. So you can see there, if we scroll down, I'm going to go submit that. It gives us the curl that we've sent. You see the URL, but it's warning us invalid JSON input, and it's got a response code of 400, so that's incorrect. Okay, so that's because I didn't finish off. So that's what you'll see if you configure the wrong thing, send the wrong data. Let's correct that by putting in the final enclosing curly bracket there, and send it again. Now this should be correct. Great. Right. So what we've got, response code 201. So that's good, because that means that it's created the data that we wanted. If you were going to do something like build this into some Python scripts, this gives you the information that you need to send. So it gives you the format of the data that you're going to have to pack your HTTP header with, and the URL that you need to send it to create a VLAN. So that's how you can see that the Swagger UI is like an interactive command reference for you. Okay, you could start here, work out the data that you need, the format of the data, the kind of key value pairs that you need to do create something on the switch, and then you can put that into your script. So you can see that that was successful. Now let us prove that, but I'll scroll back up. So this is back to my get VLANs, and we should see if I submit there. There we go. Okay, so VLAN 99 has been added. Excellent. And just to prove it for you legacy people out there, there you go. Show VLAN 99 via the good old CLI, and you have that on that device now. You can add and delete, configure VLANs exactly the same way in this old style if you wish. There I did one via the CLI. So, okay, VLAN 101. And that's all in this. So everything that you can configure on this device, you can configure via this REST API, and you've got the Swagger UI as the guide to that, where you can get your information. Okay, that's all for now. That was just a quick look at the web UI, the CLI, and the Swagger UI for Aruba AOS-CX, the brand new operating system from Aruba. I hope you found that useful. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be doing lots more Aruba AOS-CX videos on this channel in the future, and we'll really be putting the OS through its paces by doing some Python scripts against this, like we've been doing for the Aruba OS switch, and really delving into some network automation with these switches. But that's all for now. My name is Joe Neville. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.